What's up, guys? I don't know if this is working. I am trying to get things started here. Let me get this camera set up. Oh. Alrighty. I hope everybody's doing okay today with your social distancing. I don't know if this is actually going to my YouTube right now. I think it's supposed to be, but I do not see it. I'm hoping that I'm not doing this from my other account. If we are, we'll figure that out too. You know what I'm saying? We'll figure that out. I don't think so, guys. Hello. Let me get some music for you guys. Sorry, this is going to take me just a second. I'm still trying to figure out if we're live. It says we are. On my phone, but I do not see me live on YouTube, so we'll just have to take it on faith, guys, I guess. Oh, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I'm an idiot. Sorry, guys. Let's see, I got that picture up now. Okay. All right, guys. This is royalty-free music that I'm playing in the background. According to YouTube themselves, I'm playing it right off of YouTube's audio library. So, let's see. Let's go back in here. Let's try that song again. Turn these lights up a little bit. All right. I don't know if anybody's seeing this, but we're about to get started. These are the pencils I'll be working with primarily today. Eventually, we'll get into this gam saw, but I don't think we're going to do that till we get into this first layer of our main subject matter. So, we'll work on that. Ooh. Bring this microphone up here. I don't know if you can hear any better. Oh, excuse me. Pardon me. I don't know if you can hear me any better with that mic or not. So that's just apparently going to be the way this microphone is going to hang. So It's just a lavalier mic. Like I said, my audio equipment's kind of shoddy right now. Let me grab a drink. I'll be right back. We'll get this started. Alrighty. A little bit of a late start, guys. Straighten this bad boy out a little bit. Alright. I think my phone is charged up, so I don't need to use that necessarily. Give my charger a rest. Alright, guys. Welcome. So, we're looking at the current project, the Sky Serpent or Flying Serpent of Native American mythology and cosmology. But I didn't want to talk about the history of that. I would rather talk about doing clouds, making clouds. Like vaping, I'm making clouds. I hope everybody's social distancing is going well. You know, keep yourself clean, sanitized. It's the best thing we can do. We don't want to pass anything on unintentionally or intentionally for that matter. If you're having those sorts of episodes, you might want to talk to a medical professional. Alright. So, these clouds here, I've watched a couple of tutorials online this week on doing this effect. So, I'm attempting it with very little practice. Last night I worked on this for a while. As you can tell, it's kind of a cloud effect, and by doing this attempt, this is why we use sketchbooks, I feel more comfortable with my execution of what I'm trying to do, which is pretty exciting. So I'm going to get into this. I have a couple of different cloud formations that I got photographs of while I was out in western North Carolina. It was a beautiful day when the weather started to break on Saturday evening. And I got some photos from there as well as some reference from online. And I think I'm just going to start laying in the background. Now, like I said, in order to give it a very realistic, fluffy effect, I'm going to have to use the Gam Saw. It's a product by Gamblin. They make a lot of art-based products, but we use this to move around the pigments that are inside of the lead of the colored pencil, and I can make it look lighter and fluffier. The thing is, I'm gonna need to burnish a lot of this snake, and in order to do that, I want to wait on gam sawing until I've got some of the snake done. So we're probably only going to do one layer or maybe 2 layers, and then we'll start executing the snake, but we'll see how far we get. I'm going to try to keep this stream decently about an hour and a half. So We're 10 minutes in right now. And I'm going to go ahead and look at my materials that I plan to use. So, the materials that I plan to use primarily are Prismacolor Premier colored pencils. I've separated out a good bit of them right here. I'm going to move these greens and stuff back here. I know you can't exactly see them in frame, but I have a superfluous amount of them right now out. And I really just need a smaller amount of them. So, these are the ones that I had sitting over here. This was part of these trees. As you can tell, these are the colors of the bottoms here, and I'm going to use those. I'm going to go ahead and continue using those, I guess. In the clouds, there's a little reflection of yellow, so I'm going to use this Deco yellow. I think I'll add that to this. Otherwise, I don't think I'm going to need any of the greens or anything. I do have a black, although I don't think I'm going to need that either. So, the tools I'm going to be using primarily are cream, Deco yellow, Spanish orange, cadmium orange. So that actually only is for a very tiny piece of this, and I don't even know if we'll get to it in the hour and a half or whatever that I'm planning to stream here. But next, I'm going to want to get into some blues, and contrary to what you might think, I'm going to want to go in with the darkest blues. So I'm going to separate out the darkest colors I have here. Okay, so it will be followed up by an indigo blue, which is going to be the super darkest part. I don't foresee using a lot of it. I used a lot of it in the sample drawing that I did for the sketchbook, but I don't foresee using much of it in this final drawing. But then from there, we're going to go down to a violet blue, which has a little more of a red-purple tint, which is fine, but again, using it sparingly. Then I've got ultramarine, which we'll use a lot more of, Copenhagen blue, and then China blue. Now I know this seems like a lot of colored pencils, and you can really do this with, I mean, as little as 6. There is a fellow YouTuber by the name of, I'd have to think of what his channel is. You know what? If I can think of it, I'll put it, or I'll mention it. But there is a video that if you search for drawing clouds with, or realistic clouds with colored pencil, his video will be suggested to you, and he does it with only 6 colored pencils. The only reason I use a diverse array of color is because I'm trying to give contrast, depth, and detail. And using a various amount of blues gives various tones. It's really just going to help me do some gradients. Then we can do the lighter blues. I'm not even going to necessarily rattle them off to you. And included in these blues, I'm also going to have a Koh-I-Noor polycolor and some Soho artist pencils from Jerry's Artorama brand. So some of them that I will be using though is slate blue. I'm not going to use this no photocopy blue. I don't know how that got in there, so I'm going to go ahead and move that over to my drawing stuff. I guess the next one would be my light cerulean blue. Then I think if it isn't too hard of a firm tip, I'm going to use this Soho Urban Artist colored pencil. It's a light turquoise blue, but I really like the color of the blue, and I think with the contrast with the trees and the red of the snake that reddish brown is going to look really good. From there, I'm going to do a true blue, and I actually have two true blues because I think that is primarily the color I want the sky to be. Then I have an electric blue, a Koh-I-Noor Heart and Mouth polycolor, and this is just a light blue. And then finally a phthalo blue from the Soho Urban Artist Collection. So we have quite a few blues. The last pencils that I have in here are grays. And I'll go through the grays as well. But I'm not going to stage those in the same way. Okay. So, in my grays, I want to start off with actually a green, pale sage. In the same way that we're going to use this yellow, I'm going to go ahead and insert this pale sage because there's going to be a little bit of green reflected in there. And I'm considering actually adding a little bit of a rainbow in the sky in one of these trees. So, if we decide to do that, we'll have to pull out some more colors. Then I'm using a 10% cool gray, a 20% cool gray, a 30% cool gray, a Koh-I-Noor light gray, then I'm going to use a 50% French gray, which just has a little more brown tone to it, a 50% cool gray, and then I have a light sky blue and a cloud blue, which are very, very light blues that are almost like a gray, and then of course a white. So it seems like a ton. I get it. It is a lot of pencils, but I think it is going to be fun to see what we can come up with here. All right, we're at 20 minutes, guys, almost. And I think it's about time we start laying down some design. First thing to remember is that our natural inclination with drawing clouds is often not the route you really want to go. Clouds are one of those things that when you see them, you think of them kind of in popcorn design, like when you were a kid. And as fun as that may be, it is very inaccurate. We'll use this hideous eraser to stop this. It's very difficult to conceive of the idea, but actually clouds are also made up of squares and triangles and all kinds of other shapes. So off in the distance back here, there's going to be very bright clouds because I want to have this back distance be very dark in the background. So first I want to do is I want to take a light blue of some nature. The lightest you can see is probably the best route to go. So I'm actually going to try this cloud blue. And what I want to do here is add little bitty up and down strokes. Just tiny little up and down strokes for the outer parts of the clouds. I'm going to do a little bit of inconsistency in them to give them a gradient. And I'm just going to do these kind of at random. Alright. Now, I'm recognizing as I'm looking at this that I probably could use a little bit of eraser work in here where just some riffraff has come off of the paper and smudged around. So I'm going to try to clean up some of this before I go adding color to the top of it, because quite frankly it does me no good. And it doesn't have to be super accurate because the leftover bits will appear as if they're just shadowed leaves. This little automatic eraser I got from Jerry's Artorama. They're not a sponsor of this video. It is the art store I typically go to the most here in the Raleigh area, between them and Hobby Lobby. And I believe this was, actually I might have got this one through Wish, and actually I think this one did come from Wish. This one I think costed me like $4 from Wish, and it even came with batteries, which I can't say you get with a lot of companies when you order things like this. They usually have you find your own batteries, but I believe it came with these batteries. Get in here and just clean up some of this. I'll clean up underneath and around those blue lines I just made. Careful not to erase them too much, because I do like their placement. This brush here. Alright. So now let's go in with one of our darkest colors. I'm going to say this, let's go in with this indigo. No, let's go with the violet blue. Going with this violet blue. Sorry for the sharpener. We just want to make sure we have a sharp point whenever we're working with colored pencils. The thing is with these Prismacolor Premiers is that because they are a waxier base, they tend to be used up quite efficiently when you put pressure on them to burnish them. So I'm going to hit right underneath those blue lines that I had hit at earlier with the same kind of marks. And I know that just looks like trash right now. I know it does. But it's alright. We know what we're doing here. So I'm going to go up underneath this. I think we're just going to fill in this whole bottom part right here with this indigo blue, or violet blue, excuse me. And we're not going to put a lot of pressure here. We're kind of just letting the pencil glide over the surface of it. It is basically giving us an undercoat that we will be putting pressure and color onto above it. We can fill in a little bit of these white spots that we see through here, putting in a little more of that blue. I'm just going to fill it in. It's kind of hard to draw clouds without drawing the sky, but you know, I know I said that this video would be about clouds, but we're going to get into that in more detail as we go along. You can see this blue here. It's very deep, very, very deep blue. I'm hoping to keep a effect of looking up into the trees. I hope that effect is given off, that you're actually looking up this way. I couldn't direct it too much at an angle. I felt like it was too surreal and not really what I was going for. I wanted to seem a little realistic, like a person would be observing this kind of from first person perspective. So I hope that still comes across. Alrighty. So now what we're going to do, we put this indigo blue back, or violet blue back in here. And we're actually going to pick up the indigo blue, which is the darker blue. It still has somewhat of a point on it, and we don't need it to have much of one. At this point, I'm going to put a little more pressure, but not a whole lot, on top of that. And you see how this color is starting to pop out. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, this is a lot darker of a color. And I said I wanted the true blue to be the sky, correct? So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm just going to grab that true blue. Let me find one. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and go over this with this true blue real quickly. You see how the blue's coming forward? And that's going to help us transition into this higher part when the true blue really pops out. I'm going to hit that on top there. And we're putting a little more pressure because at this point we're considering almost a burnishing effect. But we don't want to actually burnish. You do not want to burnish because we're going to be using some Gamsol, like I said earlier. Gamblin Gamsol and a paintbrush to actually give us a more fluffy effect on these trees eventually. Right now it's just another layer. I just released a new video on my YouTube channel this past week. It's one of the last videos of me doing a chalkboard for the Players Retreat Bar in Raleigh. Not long after this video was recorded, I parted ways with them. So it's kind of nostalgic to me, and quite honestly, I really enjoy it. I like editing, and I had a blast editing this video and choosing the music and everything. So check that out if you don't have time to sit here and draw with me. All right. So what's interesting is it looks like clouds are white on the outer edge a lot, but typically they aren't as white as you'd think. So I'm going to take this cream color and I'm going to hit these highlights at the top of these clouds in the back. Because they will pop out further later in the future. I'm going to take that true blue again, and I think we're going to fill in a little more of this background right here with this true blue, just kind of independently of itself, very lightly. And then I'm going to go back in over that with the other colors that we just used. Cover that whole area, actually, I think. Alright. This indigo blue is what I'm holding here. Prismacolor indigo blue. It's PC901 is the number. Go back in with this true blue. Alright, let's go back in actually with this violet blue. Because if we're missing that purple tone, it will be noticeable. So we need to put some of that purple tone in there. Just rubbing it off on the top of that, the grains on the paper, and just rubbing it off. Alright. I think I'm going to use this true blue again to excuse me, I think I'm going to use this cloud blue again to go in here, and we're going to start looking at building a bigger cloud in the background here. Because as fun as that is, I imagine we want to do something with a little more complexity. So let's do the bottom of this. Alright, so a little more complexity. Alright, so this light cloud blue or cloud blue here, I'm just going to be using it to pick apart the shapes of this cloud as I see it before my eyes. So I see a little, basically like a humpback shaped cloud. And again, we're just using little tiny up and down motions to make those outer edges. A little bit of that. And then a little wisp off there. I don't know what this trash music is. Sorry, guys. Alright, let's try the next song. Come on now. Clouds are a very difficult thing to be able to see clearly, to observe clearly. They're so amorphous and have so many complex shapes inside of them that we often, it does appear like a bunch of circles. It does appear like a popcorn kernel in your mind. It is giant fluff, amounts of fluff, giant amounts of fluff. But in reality, the outer bits of the clouds can be squares, and they could be squares and triangles and rhombuses, and they might be loose on the edge because, well, it is wispy, you know, but in reality it's a lot of very small shapes layered in different ways on top of each other and twisty and turny. It's an exercise in shape to draw clouds, is what I'm finding. That is what I'm finding. So we're going up right up to this snake's outer edge with this cloud here. And I obviously, you know, I can't see behind this tree, so I'm having to create in my mind the look that the tree will have. I can't see behind the snake. But now I have a small outline of the area that I'm looking at. Okay. And I can actually go in here and actually I can use little tiny circles and start filling up the back side of this cloud, because it's actually just has a very light shadow comparatively to other clouds. And this cloud blue is, quite frankly, the perfect color for it. So if we put that there, alright, we're going to add a little more pressure up on this top side. I'm going to do another hard edge similar to that edge, because I'm going to need a good cloud break right there. And there's going to be all kinds of wispiness up here. It's just now taking shape, so there's so many fine details in there. It would be easy to feel overwhelmed. But don't let yourself be. You can do this. Just little tiny marks, little marks. Alright, so now that I got a little bit of that shaped out with that cloud blue, I think we're going to go in with a little ultramarine and start really crisping up the bottoms and outer edges of this thing. Got a pretty sharp end on there. And this ultramarine is such a beautiful color. And let's get it lightly underneath here. I think if I were to execute this again differently, I'd have probably done the clouds first, outlined the trees, drawn the clouds, then put the trees on top. But we're not in that place, so we're going to do what we're going to do from where we are right now. Just little tiny circles, little tiny circles. I prefer to try to do mine kind of like very thin ovals. I can't really tell you why, it's just the way that I like to do it. But we're starting to see some of this cloud come together here. I'm gonna leave some of that very wispy and very light because I want to drag it up into that cloud when it comes time for that, you know, with the Gamsol. So right now, my day job, is really taking the social distancing very seriously. So my schedule is very much up in the air, and I plan on working on this on my spare time. So I figure other people may be social distancing as well, and I'm inviting you guys to come back and join me as I do these things. I will be tweeting out when I'm on here, as well as posting on my Facebook and sometimes my Instagram. I try to be better at updating premieres of videos and things on Instagram. I'm not great at it, but would like to be better. So I'm going to try to be better at that. But you can keep up with my updates there and find out when I will be doing live streams such as this, in case you want to follow up and follow along. I can't always imagine that I'm super entertaining, and I imagine it could be quite boring to sit here and listen to someone just talk about color pencils if you're not a color pencil person or an art person. But it's something that I believe has value in the world, so I'll provide it. Continue with this ultramarine still. And now we're going to get up underneath the base of this cloud here, where it's coming out of this tree. And we're going to use these little bitty marks here and try to find it, pick it out of the white. You know, look at your picture, look at your references, keep turning back and making sure you're getting the idea, because there are little marks and wisps and all sorts of things that make a cloud difficult to render. Alright, I'm going to go back and grab this true blue, and I'm going to hit this true blue on top of those things that we just did. Bring that blue forward. Very light again, you don't add too much pressure. kind of like that song. I might save that really quick. Sorry. We'll move on with this. That tree blue just filling in, just lightly grazing. True blue is PC 903. Alright, we'll put that true blue back. Bring down this ultramarine again. And I'm going to be continuing up the front side of this cloud. Tiny little marks. This is that ultramarine. It's PC 902. It looks like very indiscriminate marks, and in some ways it is. I'm also trying to keep an idea of the shapes of all the smaller parts of this. Clouds are very difficult shapes. They're very difficult shapes to navigate, but it's fun. And at least I feel like it's fun. I am a nerd for drawing, so that doesn't surprise me. I shouldn't expect everybody else to be such a nerd for it, but it'd be awful cool if you were. I have to really look to see that light line that I made with the cloud blue. It's not exactly the shapes you would be expecting from a cloud, but they are indeed there. The more you look at pictures of clouds, the more you see these odd shapes and these cumbersome bends. Alright, so then I'm going to take this, still using that ultramarine, I'm going to sharpen it up just a bit. Just to get an extra fine point. And I'm going to just lightly go around the outsides of this. Oh, I got a broken leg. You see, this is the problem with Prismacolors. Especially since the plant moved to Mexico. That's no slam on Mexico, just I've noticed it since they moved to Mexico. So, that's not going to work for me. I need to sharpen that up again. And I just watch my pencil get shorter and shorter. So So now we're going to go just around these outer edges. And you think to yourself, like, why would I do that? But if you look at pictures of clouds, it does appear to be that around the outer edges of clouds, it seems darker. And really, it's not any darker. In reality, it's just... the optics of your eye next to this bright edge. But in order to mimic that accurately, we need to give it a little help, you know. Okay. Just right around the outside here. I know, it's an ugly cloud. But I promise you, it'll look so cool when it's done. Even lighter, even lighter, even lighter. And we're just going to get lighter and lighter and lighter with it the further we get into this middle, because at this point we're going to start adding in mostly the true blue. We want that core part to be as much true blue or around that tone as possible. And just following again in those small circles, ovals I guess you could call them. All this music is royalty free. You can find it in the YouTube audio library. This requires no attribution. Alright, we're starting to get somewhere, guys. I know it doesn't seem like it. It seems like a very ugly picture right now, but it takes layers upon layers upon layers to make things happen like that. So then let's grab this violet blue, or excuse me, this indigo blue, and then the violet blue. I'm going to just go over, especially in these darker parts, with this indigo blue PC 901. You can see all these colors are right around each other, even on the Prismacolor scale. We've been using PC 901, PC 902, PC 903. These are all very close to each other, and that's how it's going to help me make a gradient, or at least that's my attempt at trying to make a gradient with these colored pencils. So I'm guessing we're going to take this indigo blue here up to about like right here, because eventually we're going to even darken that in more as we do these clouds in the background, and we're going to pump up the contrast around these trees. But right now we're just going with these light circles, just filling it in, just rubbing it off, rubbing off in. We're going to go into these new areas, following the same kind of idea. I'm going to go into these switching back to our ultramarine. We're approaching the tail right here, and I want to leave room to get in there and detail that tail. Oh yeah, I'm just trying to get somewhere with this now. I'm liking it. I'm starting that song over again. This is also by Silent Partner. They're a band on YouTube as well, but they also make this royalty-free music, and I actually dig some of their jams. God, that's cringeworthy. Forget that I said that. Doing little tiny motions, little tiny circles. You might have to get in here with some of those darker colors, I think, and make all this very, very dark in here. Alright, so I'm going to go back in with this violet blue and try to give it some purple. Like I said, up to about here, I want to give it a really nice purple tint because we're going to get it real dark back in here. Alright. Give me just a second. I'll get another song on. Again, that's Silent Partner, guys. I really dig them. Alright. I actually used Silent Partner as my theme song in a few of my videos, you might have noticed. Alright, then I'm going to go over with this China Blue. Oh yeah. Real good. Take this China Blue. Starting to see that blue come forward more and more. And we're not even going to get down into this bottom of the China blue too hard. We're just going to do another light rub, just like earlier. Little rubs. We'll get in here later and we'll darken up some of that, because I really do actually, I think I'm considering more of a burnished effect down here on the bottom, and then as we get up we can get into the Gamsol more and more. But right now, I just want to add this blue. Just lightly adding this blue. This is again the China Blue PC 1100. Sorry you can hear the traffic out there. I got the window open. Alright. Take this all the way up to the snake's end with this blue here. Hit some up in here too. Alright, I think at this bottom, we're going to go with this indigo blue. Look at that. Put a little more weight down on it. Just a little more weight down on there. I'm going to give this a very defined line too, because again, I don't want to make the sky look too ridiculous, but I do want a good fade effect. In order to get that good fade effect, I need contrast. So what I'm trying to do here is bump up the contrast effectively. Alright, I'll get to that music here in a second. Get up underneath some of this branches with this indigo blue and add some low lights, if you will. Alright. And this is just going in some of these spots. It's not going to go all the way up. But then down here in this corner, we're going to use it just like we have down in these spots. And we're going to add a little more pressure in there. And in here. Alright. Back to our violet blue. And I know this gets repetitive, but what we're doing here is we're building layers and layers and layers of color. And we're just going to do this on the same area that we just did that other blue. Just going to get right up on it. We're really filling it in at this point, guys. Oh yeah. All right, now I'm gonna hit it one more time with that true blue, and in fact, I'm gonna take it this true blue, which is PC 903. We're gonna hit it on top. This time, we're gonna hit it with a little more pressure, and at this point, you're actually gonna feel it starting to like burnish. It is gonna start to burnish down there, but you don't want it to burnish hard. You don't want to give it your all yet. And I'm just going to add in some random spots of this true blue into this cloud. Maybe give a little dimension. I think I'm going to do the same on this one down here too. Just going in here and filling in some blues. This is that band Silent Partner again, man. Jamming. They got the groove, man. Alright. Let's take this true blue and do some more of this too. Let's hit this all around this. Oh yeah. Starting to look good. Let's true blue that. I think at this point we might be able to go in with really dark gray. Let me see if I can find really dark gray. Oh, there's a 70% cool gray. I'm going to just test it out down here. Yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and use this 70% cool gray. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to burnish the fuck out of these bottom pieces down here. It's time to give it some pressure. And then you can actually add detail too as you're doing it. You can see what I'm talking about. We're going to go ahead and give it some just really deep pressure down here. I'm not going to go all the way up to the bottom of these clouds because I still would like to make them look as fluffy as possible. And when you're going in here with burnishing, you're really limiting the amount of work that can be done around it. You've already flattened out the tooth of the paper, and thus you've finalized that area effectively, like that. Killing it. This is Cream PC914. And I'm just topping off these clouds and giving some of them some more definition in here in the back. Some lighter spots. Then I'll go in with this 10% gray. And I'm just going to start adding some grayer tones to the areas that aren't going to be as seen. And we'll pull that into these. And then I'm going to bump that up and go to this 30% cold gray. Hit the bottom of this. And I'm not putting on a lot of pressure here. I'm just laying it down. This is just a darker gray, so it lays a little darker. All right. From here, I think I'm going to go with a lighter color than the true blue. I think I'm going to go in here with this electric blue. And let's go with the blue slate actually. This is Blue Slate PC1024. And I want to hit some of these areas with this blue slate color. It's a little lighter. And I'm just layering this blue slate color on top because it is a little lighter, which means it's not going to have as much interference with the color we've already laid down. And it's only adding more blue and white tones, which is going to help it show that kind of transition that we were making by putting in the darker colors at the bottom. Just lifting those colors up. You know, and at this point of it, I think when we start getting up here, other than being right around the clouds like this, I think other than that, we're going to try and keep the sky a little lighter than that, actually. I think that was a pretty light, or a pretty dark sky as it came out there. Actually, I might use this blue slate as my new pencil, because the cloud blue is very light, but almost too light for me to see what it is exactly that I should be doing. So I'm going to use this blue slate for a minute and just kind of give it a layer, because the blue slate then will pop out more. You understand? It's whatever colors you're using, you make sure that you're applying an adequate amount. You can feel it, you can see it as you do it. I know, because that's how I do it. Try a little bit of this Copenhagen Blue PC 906, and I'm gonna go in here, add a little more pressure, and really blue in some of these areas off to the side. And even I'm gonna hit that area that we burnished earlier. I'm gonna go over some of that with this Copenhagen Blue and try to bring the blue tone back out of it, you see? There you go. It's good stuff. I believe this is Silent Partner again. Yeah. I like this band, man. Oh yeah, it's really starting to come together, guys. I'm liking it. Alright. And then we'll go in with this light cerulean blue, and we'll go over this next layer up here. Another light layer, just a light layer, just tap, tap, tap. going to go ahead and add a little bit of this light cerulean blue all over the paper. Again, watching for that tail. Oh, yes. So, where do we go from here? This is where we bring our true blue. Now, because we want true blue to be kind of the main color, any place where you might have light coming from behind a cloud, you want to remember that that's going to take burnishing with a white to kind of give that effect, or a gray even maybe, or a yellow even. So in those areas I wouldn't quite burnish it as much. Alright, well, we're starting to see it pop through here. But it's also about time for me to wrap up for today, guys. If you would like to, give this video a thumbs up. You can share it with anyone who you think would find any value in the kind of content that I make. I would appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments or criticisms, throw it in the comment section. I do pay attention to that. And if you really are interested in seeing what's going on and keeping up with me, you can check my other social media. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, here on YouTube, on DeviantArt. I'm around. Just search for my name, Charles Hancock, and you'll find me. If you're interested in learning more about how to make clouds and do skies, keep an eye out for the follow-up live stream to this. It'll probably be later on this week, considering I think we all have the time. And I'm going to get up more into this background. Otherwise, guys, I look forward to seeing you soon. I hope you enjoy and go out in the world and create something. And we'll catch up with you guys next time.